Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So this is what we are going to be making today. We've already done the drafting of this corset blouse. If you missed that, I'll have it linked in the description below. So let's get right into the video. So this is the yoke part of our blouse. So what I did is I cut the center front unfold, and I cut two of that, and I cut the back as well. I cut two of that, and we have 4 for the back and 2 for the front, and I sewed them together. So this is what it was looking like after I was done joining them together. So this is what we have. So I went ahead to iron soft wadding on the fabric and stay on the lining piece. So this is what it's looking like. I used the softest one. Some persons call it body part, some persons call it wadding. So I used the softest one for the fabric, and I used gum stay for the lining piece. So this is how we are going to join it. We are going to join the center front by 1/2 inch, the way you see me doing right now. So I just had to create a mark just to show you where I'm going to be sewing it by. So I'm joining the fronts together first. So this is what it's looking like. I'm just going to sew along that line. Then I'm going to do the same thing for this other piece. So this is what it's looking like after I was done joining the two sides together. So I'm going to take the back piece, and this is how it's going to be, and I'm going to sew by 1/2 inch as well. I'm going to do the same thing for the two of them, and afterwards I'm going to do the same thing we did for the lining piece for the fabric as well. So now I just want to show you the cup. As you can see, I have one darted already and one has not been darted, and you can see the dramatic, should I call it dramatic, you can see the effect it gives when you dart your cup before making use of it. So I just want to let you know that you should dart your cup before using it. So for the cup parts, we are just going to be joining them together. We are going to be joining it like this by 1/2 inch, and we are going to do the same thing for the lining and the fabric all together. So when we're done, you should have something like this. I went ahead to give it a good press. So this is what the cup is looking like. I have a detailed video on how I achieved this on the channel. I'll have it linked in the description box below, so you can go and check it out. So this is what it's looking like after we're done joining, and you can see that this cup is standing very well even before we added our ready-made cup. So now I'm going to be applying our hue gum to the fabric just to attach it to the cup. I don't know if you understand what I'm explaining, but that's what we are doing. We are gumming it to the we are gumming our bra cup to it. So this is what it's looking like. I'm just pressing it down just so it sits properly. So you can see the excess there. I'm going to be trimming off the excess. We are not going to be working with that. So this is what it's looking like now, but there is enough allowance at the side for us to attach our cup to the main fabric piece. So I'm also going to do the same thing for the lining. So this is what it's looking like after I was done. I went ahead to give it a good press. Here I'm just trying to show you where our boning channel is going to be. We are going to be creating a boning channel outside, but you can do this inside, but I'm not going to be doing that. So I'm just trimming off the excess so it doesn't disturb me while I'm fixing my boning channel. You can apply your boning inside, but I'm just doing this outside. So you can see what it's looking like after I was done. I just cut out these strips of fabric for our boning channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in. I'm going to fold it in the way you see me doing, give it a good press, and then attach it to our fabric like so. I'm going to pin it down, and that is what we are going to be working with. So this is what it's looking like. I just pin it down. I'm going to use my pin to pin it down so I know where I'm going to be sewing. So I'm just going to pin it down the way you see me doing right now. I'm going to start sewing by along the sides, and I'm going to do the same thing for this other piece we have here. So that is what it's going to look like. For the center part, we are going to join it together first before adding our boning channel. So this is what it's looking like after I was done sewing it. This is what we have right now. Next up is we are going to be attaching our cup. So this is how you're going to attach your cup. You're going to make sure the midpoints are joining, then you're going to sew along that line. Then for the other side, you're going to just sew all the way up, just so everything is sitting in place and they're aligning properly. So I'm going to show you how that is done. So now I'm just holding the joining the midpoint of the main piece, the main fabric, and the midpoint of my cup, and from there I'm just going to sew upwards. So guys, this is what we have after I was done sewing that part. So now I'm going to turn it to the other side to sew the other part of the cup all the way up. So this is what it's looking like. So now I'm just going to turn it to the other side, and from that part, from the midpoint, also it's also from the midpoint, I'm just going to sew from there, making sure everything is straight and aligned properly, and I'm just going to sew by half an inch all the way upwards, as you can see me doing right now. So guys, this is what we have after I was done sewing on both sides. So you can see there's a bit of excess at the top. We are going to be trimming that out. So after I was done with this one, I'm just going to bring the other part, and I'm going to do the same thing for this part as well. So now this is what we have after I was done sewing the both cup to the fabric. So this allowance there, we are just going to be trimming that out because we don't need it. We are going to be trimming that out so it lays properly, it lays down properly. So guys, now we are just going to trim off the excess. So from that point, I'm just curving it all the way up because you know this is a deep V, so we are just following that shape upwards to carve and cut off the excess we have at the top. So you can see how the line is moving, so we're just going to mark it out and trim off the excess. After trimming, I also went ahead to trim off the excess cup inside by half an inch, just so when we are joining our yoke and we are turning it, when we're joining our yoke, there's no bulging at that top. There's no bulging, and it's not difficult for you to sew because of the cup you have there. So we're just trimming it off, so when we're sewing, when we are attaching our yoke, you're doing it freely. There's no stress when you're sewing. So that is why I'm trimming off the excess you see me trim off right now. So this is what it's looking like. I'm just going to do the same thing for the other cup now. Now we are going to attach our yoke to the front piece. So what I'm going to do from that deep part, I'm just going to notch it. I'm going to notch it at the center. As you can see, I have notched it at the center. So from this point, because we are going to be joining our center front by half an inch as well, I'm just going to take note of that point. So from the other parts, as you can see right now, I'm going to just take note of that, and I'm going to pin it down. I'm just going to pin down the net all the way up, as you can see, but I did not pin the part we are going to be sewing close. That is the center front. I did not start the net from that point. I hope you understand. If you have any complications, do not forget to just leave a comment, and I will do well to address your questions. So I'm just pinning everything down so I can sew along the line. So this is what it's looking like after I was done pinning it down. You can see that the effect is already coming out. You can see that it's already coming out. It's already looking good. So we are just going to sew along that line. So here we are just going to sew along we are just going to join our yoke to our fabric, and we are going to sew along the part I pinned down. So after sewing, we are going to attach the two front pieces together. So this is what it's looking like after we were done joining the yoke part to the main fabric. So this is what it's looking like. So next up, I'm going to grab the other front piece and we are going to join it together at the middle. So I just grabbed that part, and I'm going to take note of the measurements I'm going to be sewing it by, and I'm just going to sew along the center part to join the both pieces together. So as you can see, I'm just going to take note of the measurement, and I'm going to sew a straight line to close that place, but I'm not going to close it all the way up. I'm going to leave space at the top to fix the other part of our yoke. I also made a blouse on this channel where I fixed a yoke for a deep blouse. That is sorry guys, I made a blouse and it was the same method, but it was for a bustier. So if you'd like to check that out as well, I'll have it linked in the description box below. So I'm just sewing it all the way up, leaving space to attach the other part of our yoke. So this is what we have after joining the two pieces together. You can see what the center part is looking like. So I'm just going to attach the other part of the yoke. So this is what we are going to do. I'm going to just align the midpoint of the part I had the notch. I'm just going to align it to the other side and pin it down all the way down, the way I did for the other parts. So I'm just going to take my pin and pin it down so everything stays in place while I sew. Everything stays in place. So I'm just going to pin it down, and after pinning it down, I'm going to sew along the line. So guys, if you're enjoying this video and you're not yet subscribed, please do well to subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. I create content around all things fashion. So if you're not subscribed, do well to subscribe to the channel so you can get more sewing tutorials like this. So guys, we are just going to sew along the line the same way we did for the other part. We are just going to sew it to the midpoint of the blouse, and that is that. So after sewing this, we are going to go ahead to attach the back yoke, as you see me doing right now. I'm also going to attach the back yoke of our blouse. I'm going to do this for the 2-piece we have at the back. So guys, I went ahead to put in my measurements, my bust measurements, my waist measurements as well, taking note that on this part we already took out 1 inch on both sides for snatching. So if you want to have this snatch effect, please remember that you took out 1 inch on both sides. So when you're putting in your measurements, take note of that when you do so. So now I'm going to join it together, and you can see that I'm going to join the back piece and the front piece together before finalizing my boning channel. As you can see, I'm not done with my boning channel, so I want to join it together. So this is what it's looking like after I was done joining the back piece and the front piece together. So now I'm going to just open up everything to iron it, to make sure everything is laying well. I'm just going to open up every part to iron it so I can be able to fix my boning channel. So here, if you wish to fix your boning from the inside, you can just give this a good press, sew it down and insert your boning. But I'm not going to be doing that today. I'm going to just open everything up and give it a good press and fix my boning channel on the outside of the blouse. So that is what we are going to be doing now. So we are just going to fix our boning channels now. I'm going to be adding my boning to the sides where we have our joining, just to help improve the snatch effect. I'm not going to be doing too much with the boning. I'm going to fix it at the sides and also at the center, and that is that. And the one we are going to be having at for fixing the eyelet as well, and that is that. I won't be doing too much, so I'm just going to use my iron to open up the seams, as you can see, and just fix my boning channels. So I also did the joining for the lining piece as well, so I'm as well going to open this up and iron it. And if you want your corset to have more structure, you can also go ahead to sew on some bonings to the lining piece as well. This is going to help, especially for those persons that their tummy are a bit big. This is going to help you very well. So I also went to notch the sides of my lining piece just so it relax. Yes, just so it has this relaxed effect at the sides, because it was not looking relaxed, so I had to do that. So now I'm just pinning everything down. After I was done fixing my boning channel, I'm pinning my main fabric with my lining piece so I can join them together. And you can see I'm pinning it from the side, and I'm going to just push in the yoke and pin everything down. After joining this, I will go ahead to join the shoulders together before I join the shoulders together. So I'm just doing this so everything stays inside, all the mess all the joining and the sewing, everything is inside of the blouse. We are not going to be seeing anything outside. That is the essence of doing this. So as you can see, I've pinned down everything, and I'm just going to sew along this line, this way you see me moving my hand towards. Just going to sew along that line and get to the midpoint. This place is very tricky, so you need to be careful and take your time with this. You just have to hold it properly, make sure everything is aligning together with the lining piece, and you sew along the line to that point. Then you start again and sew along and move all the way down the way we did for the other side, and just sew along. So that is what we are going to do here. So guys, when you're done, you should have something like this. This is what it's looking like after I was done sewing, and I just turned everything out. What you should do is just give everything a good press so it's laying very well. Give it a good press so it looks good and everything is just laying down very well. So here I'm just going to sew our lines for our boning. Here we're going to have 2 bonings for the eyelets, and we're also going to have 2 for this part as well, for the eyelet as well. So I'm just going to do that and fix in our bonings. So after we are done doing that, we are just going to seal up the bottom parts just so everything is closed and laying very well. So this is what it's looking like after I was done sewing down the boning channels for our eyelet. I'm now just going to fix in all our bonings for the blouse. I'm just going to fix in everything and close up the bottom parts. So guys, after we were done inserting the boning, I just brought this strip of fabric. I measured what we had at the bottom part to get the length of what we are going to use, and the width, this is just 2 inches wide, and I folded it in the way, and I gave it a good press, and this is what it's looking like. I folded it in and I folded it again. So we are just going to pin this to the bottom part first before we start sewing. We are going to leave half an inch out before we start pinning this down. I hope you understand, but sorry about the blouse. What I was doing was not on the frame, but it's going to show eventually. So sorry about this. So I started pinning this down, and as you can see, I left half an inch out. You can see that I left half an inch out here before I started pinning this down. So I pinned it all the way to the other side of the blouse. So that is what it's looking like right now. So after pinning this all the way down, we are going to sew all the way down. We are just going to sew by half an inch all the way down. So guys, before we start sewing, the half inch I left out initially, I'm just going to fold it in like so and sew along that line. Before we start sewing this place down, we are just going to close up that half inch and then we start sewing along the line. So after sewing along that line, this is what it's supposed to look like. You can see that it's now sealed after we closed up that half an inch. So now I'm going to pin it down. I'm going to just pin it all the way down so that we can be able to sew on this and close up the bottom part. So I'm just going to pin this all the way down. So after we were done pinning it down, we're just going to give it a top stitch to seal up everything. We're just going to give it a neat top stitch, and that is that. So next up, what we are going to do is we are going to be joining the shoulders together. So we are just going to align everything together. We are going to hold the front piece. So this is the front piece. Then we're going to take our back piece, open our back piece up and make sure the center joining are aligning properly. And after that, you just sew by half an inch all the way down. And after we are done doing that for the both sides, we're just going to cut out our armhole and fix our sleeve, and we are done with the blouse. So guys, if you found this video helpful, do not forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you are not yet subscribed. Right now I want to show you the difference. My initial waist measurement was 31. After I was snatched on this top, I took my measurement again, and my measurement after I was snatched was 28. So you can see the difference between the before and the after. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye guys.